And so when you see something like this, that where we've been told it's a conspiracy theory, and now all of a sudden my kid is coming home with it and it's being normalized to him before me, and they're not willing to have that conversation with us first. It was real feelings that I was upset, and then I just wanted to share it and see, am I crazy? Because sometimes it feels like I am these days.
Do you want your children getting homework assignments that are normalizing eating crickets over beef? Nah, not me either. But if it can happen to this father's child in Maple Ridge, BC, it could soon be coming to a school near you. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and a few months ago, we informed you that Ontario is now home to the largest cricket factory in the world. And despite the UN award-winning facility being massive, creating mass job opportunities for humans is off the table because the factory has adopted artificial intelligence so much that it only requires 60 employees. Now, there may be some of you saying, sign me up, that sounds great. If people eat bugs in some other places in the world, why can't we? And there's probably also some of you saying, why on earth would the largest cricket factory be in a country where people don't really eat bugs? And does this have anything to do with what is now being called the war on farming? But what if you found out that your child was learning about this factory in a fashion that sort of promotes the likelihood of AI replacing humans and also eating crickets over, let's say, beef to, you guessed it, save the planet? In this report, right after a quick ad inviting you to join us in person at our Rebel News Live conference, you'll see an interview from a BC father who explains how he felt when his child came home with such schoolwork, titled The Farm of the Future, earlier this school year.
Freedom in 2022 is your right to disagree with me anytime on anything, in your heart, online, or in the public square. Freedom in 2022 is also your right to live your life however you see fit without hurting me or, for that matter, being bothered by me. But freedom in 2022 is in very real danger under constant attack by Justin Trudeau through his censorship bills, his attacks on gun rights, his attacks on farmers, and his attacks on peaceful protesters. These people have even tried to denormalize our flag. At Rebel News, we're not afraid to have dangerous discussions that Justin Trudeau, the media, and big tech censors say we're not allowed to have. And we want to have them with you at our upcoming Rebel Live events, first in Toronto, November 19th, and again in Calgary, Saturday, November 26th. I'll be there with dozens of other Rebels and Rebel-adjacent free thinkers, and I hope that you'll join us. Just go to rebelnewslive.com to get your tickets today, but do not sleep on this, because these tickets are going fast. See you soon.
Now, Todd, I had quite a few people send me your tweet. You sent a tweet about this assignment that's in my hand that your child received. It's titled The Farm of the Future, and it's based on something we've already informed the public about, which is a cricket factory running out of Ontario. And also, if you want to get into conspiracy land, which just means it will be fact in 6 months for the general public, the sort of drive we're seeing from globalism for humans to be accepting cricket eating and for that to be normalized. So tell us how you received this. How did this come in your hands?
My kid brought this home, so he knew well enough when he saw it that it was something to question. He refused to do the assignment, and he brought it home. And when we saw it, especially that we've been watching things go, how the curve has been turning, we're seeing food scarcity.
This is the Collingwood Community Fridge and Pantry in Vancouver, which opened in February, providing free food to anyone who wants. Grace Wampold, the acting food hub coordinator, says demand is so high, most of the food is gone a few hours after stocking.
Put on our news, where the President of the United States, Trudeau, has warned us about it. There's food shortages coming.
Yes, we did talk about food shortages, and it's going to be real. But we had a long discussion in the G7 with both the United States, which has a significant, the third largest producer of wheat in the world, as well as Canada, which is also a major producer. And we both talked about how we could increase and disseminate more rapidly food shortages.
The nitrate fertilizers, they're going to cut back 30%. All now, timing is suspect, and then this. So thinking that who it's going to affect probably won't be my kids right away, but my kids might be looking over at somebody who is affected, somebody who isn't as well off or doesn't have the opportunities, and they might be using that as their protein sources, and so it's going to get real fast. And so when you see something like this, that where we've been told it's a conspiracy theory, and now all of a sudden my kid is coming home with it, and it's being normalized to him before me, and they're not willing to have that conversation with us first. It was real feelings that I was upset, and then I just wanted to share it and see, am I crazy? Because sometimes it feels like I am these days. And my family, my friends, like sometimes I'm just trying to tell people what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And not...
Tell me about it.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to share it, bring awareness. Like I said in the tweet, I just wanted to tell people that this is what's going on. This is a possibility. And so let's have that conversation. Let's bring it to the forefront. Let's not let CBC tell us it's a conspiracy theory.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change.
What do you have to say to those, including MPs in the House of Commons, who see in your use of the term Great Reset evidence of some sort of grand plot? What do you have to say to this sort of conspiracy theory out on social media now?
I think we're in a time of anxiety where people are looking for reasons for things that are happening to them, that the difficult moments we're in. It's nice to be able to try and find someone to blame, something to point to, something to get mad at. I think we're seeing a lot of people fall prey to disinformation. And if Conservative MPs and others want to start talking about conspiracy theories, well, that's their choice.
Because this came from somewhere, and if the wording changed, there's a chance that this company, however they wanted to write something that was catchy and new and sounded exciting to the kids, they got a real news story, and they wrote about it. And then the wording changed. And they were just a little bit behind the 8 ball. So...
Well, this company is Le Plan, and they are independent. I guess they publish different things that schools sometimes share in their curriculum. I've reached out to them, so make sure you stay till the end of the report to see what I found out from them. But you're not crazy. In fact, that tweet that you shared just saying, hey, look what my son got at school today, it took off. And there was a lot of other parents like you across Canada who were concerned about it. What did that feel like when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy?
I mean, if anything, the first feeling would have been just relief that yes, other parents were concerned, that what I was feeling, and not only did I get to feel that other people were also seeing it, that I'm not maybe that crazy, is that I learned a lot, and I got to see different opinions, and I got to understand how different people feel. And a lot of people said, oh, they're being used in other countries. Well, that's true. And I think the designation has changed in some countries recently. So it used to be a lower standard. Now it's called novel. So which means that in theory of your proteins, maybe 20%. And I would assume that was proteins, not all food. So even the language is changing around it. The timing is just so suspect. So I felt relief. That was it.
And, I think the timing is suspect. Like you said, you mentioned some of the climate restrictions we're putting on farmers, which is going to reduce the amount of foods. You see this almost as a promotion to kids to eat crickets. They're better than cows for the environment. You're saving the planet. You're doing good things. Even name dropping movie star Angelina Jolie because she says her kids eat crickets like Doritos.
Crickets. You start with crickets. Yeah. Crickets in a beer. And then you kind of, move up to tarantulas. You want to share a spider? Hot?
So can I make one without flavor? Dried chips.
Like chips, yeah. Some chips and some
flavorless chips.
Yeah.
What is your opinion when people say, well, maybe crickets are a good thing? Like maybe that is the answer to the problem if we ever have to face it.
Well, to be honest, I don't think people are willing to admit that that is even a possibility. I think a lot of the tweets coming back at me, but not only that, my friends, family, people I've spoke to even since, that there's a lot of distractions out there and people aren't watching. So if this is just one small piece, then they're willing to accept that. I don't think even the people who are trying to support it, I don't think that they realize that it could possibly be bigger. It could be the main source. And I think other countries that they're using it also, they're not using it as their main source of protein. I think that there's a bigger discussion to have. There are nuances to the conversation, but I think we need to have that discussion.
Absolutely. You'd think that if we are about to go into some sort of food crisis, we'd see more greenhouses, more solutions like that to eat the foods that we know are well-rounded. One of the things I don't see mentioned when cricket eating is getting promoted to children like this, or just people in general to save the planet, is how dangerous crickets can be when it comes to people who have shellfish, allergies and things like that. That's another thing that just gets swept under the rug. But Rebel News is not sweeping this topic of concern under the rug. We even have a special website called iwon'teatbugs.com, and you can sign a petition there if you're against the normalization of bug eating instead of better solutions when it comes to food preservation. Make sure you keep up to date on our reports here. I think that this is I think it's a sign of what we're going to see more to come. And thank you so much for sharing it, because it's not in our head. It's written in the wall. If you just read some of the things that the World Economic Forum has put out there, then you know that some people have plans for you and your family to eat crickets. Let us know in the comments what you think about that. Thanks so much, Todd.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray. And thanks, everybody, to sharing it and putting your voice out there, because that's how the conversation comes to the forefront. And so it's going to be an interesting one.
Well, let us know in the comments what you thought about what that father had to say. But of course, I reached out to the other side to hear from Les Plan themselves, and I heard back from Janet, who is an editor who actually picked this particular story. She said she chose the story of the September issue of the Canadian Reader because she thought the combination of artificial intelligence and bugs as a potential food source in Canada would grab the attention of young readers. When asked if any outside company or source suggestedly planned to do a story, Janet said no, and that she chooses stories based on what she thinks will appeal to their audience and the topic's relevance and fit with the curriculum. In response to my question asking why the story seems somewhat one-sided, why didn't it talk about what would happen if too much AI is adopted and there's no jobs for humans, or allergies or parasites? She said because that wasn't the purpose of the article. It wasn't to provide the pros and cons, it was to explain to students what is happening in the factory and what it's producing and why. If you appreciate the story and want to find a way to support our journalism, you can head to our store called rebelnewsstore.com. We have lots of fun gear and great gift ideas for Christmas. We even have shirts that let people know you're not down with eating crickets. Again, that's rebelnewsstore.com, and we appreciate your support.